Test. Test. All right.
I shall be back here ushering
and then it's the Kentucky Oh, I moved over 3 inches here. Oh, yeah, okay, I will. Okay, so 3 inches now.
Hi. Joan, Jeff, so nice to see you guys. I think we're ready. Oh, we lost Hami, but we're ready.
She went to get the your turn.
Nice to see everyone here. Wow. A couple of returners. Not just you, by the way. Hami's here. She's trotting in the back. She's a returner. My God, I feel like I saw one other person who was a little bit of a returner too. How nice. All right, so I think we can start.
Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom.
Well, as I was saying before, I mean, wow. And there are a lot of people who it's been a little while since I last saw, and how nice it is to see some old and familiar, well, no, when I say old, I don't mean old as an agent, but some veteran familiar faces that I hadn't seen in a long time. It's really so great to have you back, because once you're kind of connected with our temple, I feel as if you always are. You're always kind of in our hearts, and you're always in the front of our minds. So welcome back to those who it's been a little while. Also, welcome to our adult choir, Nashira. It's every single week, it's better and better. And the music that they make together is sometimes new for us, but always beautiful and touching and lovely. And so once again, another week here with Nashira, and I'm so enthusiastic and excited. So welcome back to Nashira under the direction, of course, of Jonathan Biran, and with the accompaniment of Tom Weider, who has been really a cherished treasure for us here at the temple. So thank you all for being here. There's more reasons to be glad on this Shabbat. You see, we have this one young man who's sitting over there. There. His name is Grady, and he is going to become a bar mitzvah tomorrow here at the temple. So that certainly makes this Shabbat particularly special for him and his family. And we'd like to welcome Grady to come forward along with his siblings and his parents to lead us in the blessing of the candles and the kiddush. And you can find these starting on page 120 in your Siddur, and then also 123, but I will tell you about that when we get there. First, 120. All right. $121. So, you read from here to here. Yeah,
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
You're up, Mr. So you've never done this before, have you? Okay. You're supposed to. Hold it close. All right. We didn't move up. You dropped that one too. Who's picking the second one up too? All right, try again. Hold it closer, wait. And then the moment it lights, then you get it, then pull your hand away. You got this. Move your fingers away. Go ahead, don't let it go out. We don't want to go this way. All right, we're on page 123 now. As we continue with the blessing of Kiddush, the Shabbat 123. So, in the first one. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. Shabbat kodsho bi'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila l'mikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziyat mitzrayim, kivanu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. All of it. You weren't going to share with me? It's all yours, huh? All right, good. I'll see you back here in about an hour. All right, so our service continues with the singing of Tov Lehodot. This is part of Psalm 92, and you can find it on page 140. Absolutely gorgeous. Let me just remind everyone who's here that when Nashira is singing, it is not a time for listening, but rather for participating. Not one time are you supposed to say, oh, this is a listening song. If you want to sing along, please, please, please do so. That's why they're here, is to help encourage others to sing and create more of a community here in this sanctuary. So we continue with Lecha Dodi. It's on page 138, and we are going to do, on 138, as is our custom, we are going to do the first verse, the second verse, the fifth verse, and the ninth verse. And when we reach the ninth verse, I'm going to invite you to stand up and face the entrance to the sanctuary as a way of greeting the Sabbath bride, much like the mystics of Svat did back in the 16th century. Nonetheless, first, second, fifth, and ninth verse, Lecha Dodi, page 138.
Ishmianu,
So our service continues now with our call to worship, which is the Baruchu, page 146. Please remain standing. Remain standing, please. 149. Join me, top of the page. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv HaRavim. 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta baham v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisha'arecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. All right, page, if you don't mind, page 159. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content. Her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. That song, Micha Mocha, facing page 158. We're on page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, Haporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. We praise you, Adonai, our God, who spreads over that canopy of peace over us and all Israel and Jerusalem.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael. Yerushalayim ve'akol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom, ve'al Yerushalayim ve'akol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael.
All right, our service continues now on page 164 with the tefillah, beginning with Adonai Sifatai Tiftach, again 164, then it's going to go in rapid succession, 166, 168, and 170. Would everyone please rise? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Ahavot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah, 168, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Nechayea Kol Atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Morid HaTahal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Derachamim Rabim, Tomech Noflim Verofech Oholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekahayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidor Melach, melech memit u'mechaye, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emanat alachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom, yalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. Page 175. Bottom of the page. Feel free to read with me. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. Our evening prayer for peace is called Shalom Rav. It can be found on page 178. So, for those of you who are familiar with our sanctuary, then you know what our tradition is around here. We like to pause a little bit from the stuff that's in our prayer book and use it as an opportunity to share some of the joys that are in our lives, some of the struggles as well. And we do so with a little bit of a kind of communal conversation here. We do so with sharing joys first. And so if you've experienced joy over the last, couple weeks, if you've experienced joy over the last couple weeks and you would like to share that joy, then we want to hear that joy. So all you have to do is raise your hand. I will call on you, and we can hear a little joy. Go ahead. Ron, you're first.
We talked about this morning. Philadelphia Eagles had a phenomenal ground.
Yeah. That may be your joy. Mazel tov. Yes. Great. All right. This is now getting like personal. I was hoping we would get a little, bar mitzvah. But I guess we're just going to get a little, just digging it into the New Orleans Saints, I see. Okay, Jason, tell me some joy.
I'm so happy to have both boys with us this evening.
That's fantastic. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? I'm supposed to repeat that because I got the microphone. That they got both their boys back and Brian's back for sailing, and that's a lot of joy, no doubt about it. More joy. Yes.
My parents' 49th anniversary.
Still not about a bar mitzvah, but we're going to hear the 49th anniversary. Okay, so happy anniversary, 49. That's amazing. And Grady, I'm not calling on you. I'm not chancing it, but can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Other joy. Yes, Jim.
This is an ongoing joy, but I cannot express it. I've been taking the beginning Arabic class with Hizzy Brosh here at the temple. And some people would say that a person my age who is from the last millennium should just deal with crossword puzzles. Here I'm getting language and music and culture and an appreciation of the relationship of Hebrew to Arabic.
Yeah.
And it's a great joy, and it has been all year.
Albert Einstein said that if you're not learning, then you're making your way towards dying. And so I could not agree with you more. Mazel tov for the joy of learning a new language and seeing the connections with Hebrew and being able just to revel in the fact that you still have so much more to learn and put in your mind for all that. And because we have such a great teacher in Chazi Brosh, can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? More joy. Grady, I'm not calling on you. You 2 times. I'm not, you, like, I would have to be a fool to call on you again. I'm not a glutton for punishment. All right, look, I got news for you. I can make your bar mitzvah miserable tomorrow. So I'm taking a chance, but you do realize I have a lot of power to mark. Go ahead, what's your joy? Mazel tov. Yes. All right. I'm a fool. I'm a fool. More joy. On this side of the room. Karen. Yeah.
Yesterday, my youngest son called me celebrating the fact that we had his last actual class in his doctoral program.
Wow. Last class in his doctoral program.
I finished my semester's grading today.
Wow.
So my certification's here. And then I got to spend about an hour on the phone with a friend of mine reporter planning a trip that two of us are going to take together this summer.
Wow. Planning a trip. Your son's finished his classwork for his PhD, and you finished grading all of your papers for your class. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Not chancing it. Yes.
I am so joyful that we have John and Jeff with us.
Yeah.
For those of us in the social action committee, they were just shining light for our committee, but for the whole temple, they were shining light. I'm just so happy to have you here.
I was just going to say, we're happy to be visiting friends this week.
Yay. So happy to have Joe and Jeff back, and then happy to be visiting here. So glad to have you here with us. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Yeah, go ahead. Grady's grandmother, happy to be here in Maryland, celebrating with a big family. Mazel tov, I'm so glad that you're here. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? I'm not chancing it. Okay, wait. Yes, Tom.
This last weekend, I had his 70th birthday, and in the lobby of the hotel in Baltimore where we were staying was the great big box.
out-jumped.
My two daughters.
Hey! So wait, so Tom's 70th birthday celebrating in Baltimore, and the hotel lobby was a big present. And in the present, he goes to open the present up, and what do you know? Out jumps two children, two daughters, one from California, one from Brooklyn. That was a big surprise. What was the continue? You're about to continue.
And then the next day, one daughter and I ran back from Baltimore to a house in Annapolis. I had done that before.
You ran back from Baltimore to Annapolis. How far is it? 30 miles? Did you walk any of it? Oh, yeah. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? More joy? Yeah, Stephanie.
We were both very fortunate to have our two daughters with us for Passover Seder this year. They're in various places of residence across the country, and they are both now gainfully employed.
I remember when both of them were running around here and wild, and now look at them, employed. Oh my God, it's amazing. More joy? Tell me. I'm sure there's some. Laura, go ahead.
Well, my joy is, it's kind of bittersweet. I broke my foot, but my son was with me for a month, helping in the
Wow.
house and working from home remotely. And my other joy is that I got to see Hami and Jerry tonight.
I know it.
And that is incredible joy. So I have two wonderful joys. Joy of family and community. My temple community has been just unbelievable. They've just been wonderful supporting me through this.
Couldn't hear what Laura said was the bittersweet joy of breaking her foot, but then having the joy of having her son being with her for a month to help take care of her. And then also the joy of seeing Hami and Jerry here. See, I didn't know Jerry was here at first because he was hiding behind this big white thing. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's Jerry. I'm so glad to have you here. My God, you just like, it's changed your faces entirely. So for the joy of seeing friends and having family together, I've neglected it from before, but the family being back together, join me. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? More joy? Murph.
So I have two. The first one is a thank you to Tom with the Men's Club for having the plants delivered last Sunday in the pouring rain, and the flowers were beautiful. The ones I got are gorgeous. So Tom, thank you so much for doing that for the community.
Yeah. A great flower sale.
Yes, great flowers. And the second one is the fact that Nashira is singing tonight, and Hami didn't even know that, but she was one of the originals with us when we started Nashira. So that is a blessing, just having her back tonight to sing with us.
Hami was an original.
Yep.
A founding member of Nashira.
Yep.
Other joy? I saw another hand. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was able to take a bucket list trip, get out to the Grand Canyon, which is something I've been dreaming of my whole life, with a dear friend. First time away without the kids on the trip, which was also a milestone. And then
it's amazing, isn't it?
It's
amazing.
It's so liberating. And then also on the note, my wife Jennifer hurt her knee skiing back in February, and we thought she'd have to have surgery for an ACL repair, and the doctor today said she probably won't need surgery, so that's a really good sign.
Wow. Trips to the Grand Canyon, good reports from doctors. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Okay, yes. Say it's a joy. Say again. To start a new flower garden with your family. And when did you start it up again? 2 weeks ago? See, it's risky. It was very risky because the weather did not cooperate. You're supposed to wait till Mother's Day. Oh, well, that's fine. Yeah. It's not risky in Florida. You're too enthusiastic, and I know it's going to have like some negative thing about the football team I like, and it's just going to be painful for me. So I don't walk into that more than, twice in one service. More joy? Yes, Lori.
I have 3 joys to share.
3 joys to share.
Number 1 was joy beyond joy to participate in celebrating Yom HaAtzmaut, which was 75 years in a magnificent, spectacular program coordinated by sisterhood and the leadership of Southern Rosh. Just simply joy. Joy number 2 is my new volunteer experience. A friend encouraged me to become a volunteer at the Baltimore Visitor Center. Loving Charm City as I do, I'm thrilled to be part of that, and my first day this week, so come on down. And joy number 3 is being up on the beamer with the rock and outdoor section, Bobby, Miri, and Laura. Yeah.
So let me get this straight. So you are the joy of having being part of a really meaningful program this past Sunday, celebrating Yom HaAtzmaut and also observing Yom HaZikaron as well, with some really phenomenal speakers. And then another joy being that you're now volunteering at the Baltimore Visitor Center starting on Thursday. And then finally that you feel as if the alto section of Nashira is somehow better than the remainder of Nashira. At least that's how you were kind of communicating it. And I guess we could take a vote, but it sounds like you're pretty sure, and so mazel tov on that. On the award-winning alto section of Nashira, can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? All right. Go ahead. You have forgotten. You have had your hand up. I'll give you a chance to remember. All right, anybody else want to share joy? Cookie. I'm so glad. Special Action Committee going to happy hour and then coming to services. I have noticed there has been a little bit more enthusiastic singing this evening, and now I understand why. Again, we're so glad to have you guys here. It's so sweet to see you again. Yes, Ryder. Paper is better than croissants. Pizza, better than croissants. I have to remember, I said, don't take the chance. You know what? I'm gonna completely take out my frustration on Grady tomorrow. All right. So anybody else want to share joy? For all these joys, Baruch atah Adonai Gomel Chasadim Tovim. We praise you, Adonai, our God, for partnering with us in the many joys that are in our lives. Amen. Along with the joy, of course, is a recognition that loved ones of ours are struggling or in need of healing. We have a blessing that we say called Mishaberach, and I will certainly share names of people from our congregation who we think about specifically who are in need of healing. But there are other names, and I'll give you a chance to share a name too if you wish. But first, what I'm going to do is share the beginning of this blessing, and then halfway through I'll stop, and if you want to share a name, when my eye meets yours, you can say a name of person in need of healing. But the blessing begins with Mishaberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, V'imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, V'Rachel. That means, may the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. Hu Yivarech v'Yirapeh kol hacholim shelanu. May God bless and heal all of our loved ones who are in need of healing, especially the ones whom we name now. And if you'd like to share the name of a person who is in need of healing, please feel free to do so when my eye meets yours. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stephanie again. Thank you. Thank you.
Jason Zagos.
Paul Katzman, Morris Dell, Donna Budan, and Camilla Maxwell.
Billy Dunn.
Reva Kelly. Lynn Forster.
We add to this list also Eric Harris, Mika Rom, Lisa Hoffman, Melech Eliezer Ben Yosef, Beth Smith. Yishlach lahem bimheira refuah shalema. May God send them speedily a complete recovery. Refuat hanefesh for refuat haguf, healing of body and a healing of spirit. Betoch sha'ar cholei Yisrael, amongst all who are in need of healing. V'nomar amen. And let's say amen. You can't, it's not in the book, these words, but we heard this beautiful, beautiful version of Misha Berach last month. And again, it's written by a classmate of our student cantors. Her name is Becky Mann. A really absolutely gorgeous piece about healing. So this one's more of a listen as opposed to a sing.
Amen.
pause now for a moment of silence. There's some rabbis of our tradition, some rabbis of the Talmud or the Midrash, they're famous. They got famous names. Yochanan ben Zakkai is kind of a famous one. Akiva, everyone knows him. Or the people you hear about in that part of the Passover Seder, that talks about all the rabbis who were, up late last night, up late until the person came and told them, hey, it's time for the Shema. In other words, so some names are familiar, other names less so, unless you're kind of part of my Sages class, which I teach on Tuesday nights. But let me tell you briefly about this one sage. His name was Rabbi Alexandri. And he lived, in the early part of the 3rd century. So he lived 150 years after the temple was destroyed. And he lived in Tiberia, in Tiberias, not too far away from where Chami and Jerry live now. And he was kind of this, how do I put it? He was famous amongst the people at the time because he was this really passionate speaker. He knew how to captivate an audience. And one of the famous stories about him is that he, yelled through the marketplace. He runs around and he says, "Who wants life? Who wants life? Who wants life?" And he's screaming this, and people are just confused. What is he talking about? Who wants life? And, they think maybe he's got this elixir, magic potion or something. Who wants life? But so the Talmud records that numerous people started chanting, "Give us life, give us life." And he was like, "Who wants life?" And it felt almost like a revivalist kind of experience. But in any event, so they're all captivated. "We want life, give us life, we want life, give us life." And he then proceeds to, as he's got everyone so excited, he proceeds to quote the Psalms, which is, for them back then, it was really good stuff. Like dreams are made of this, as has everyone he's eating in the palm of his hands, and then he proceeds to quote the Psalms and says, "He who wants life, guard your tongue from evil." I mean, now we'd be like, dude, we're not falling for that ever again. But it worked back then. So another one of his famous kind of expressions was that, again, he was the master of gimmicks. So he came and, one day to, with all the people around, and he holds up this broken plate, or maybe it was a broken jar. I think it was a broken jar. And, he says, "Broken vessels, they are an embarrassment." And everyone's like, yeah, broken vessels, embarrassment, broken vessels, embarrassment. And then he goes on to say, "But God seeks out the broken vessels." And everyone's like, "Ooh, yeah." Rabbi Alexandri, boy, he knew how to really get a crowd and keep them. God wants those broken vessels. And I suppose that maybe he told that, or our Jewish tradition kind of shared that story, because it was done in contrast to our Torah portion for the Shabbat. And Grady knows it well. It's called Emor. And it's got a lot of things, but it spends a fair amount of time talking about the priests. And just in case you are unfamiliar with kind of the way it works in Jewish tradition, we have priests too. It's not just rabbis. We don't have priests. We have priests. At least we did. And it talks about the priests and what their job was. And their job was to minister to all these kind of weird rituals that happened in the tabernacle, yes, and also in the temple. And yet, in this week's Torah portion, it says, and this is the purpose for me sharing with you that story before, it talks about all of the reasons why a priest is unable to fulfill his duties. If he's blind, no, he can't serve as a priest anymore. If he's lame in any way, he can't serve as a priest anymore. If he's got a broken bone, can't serve as a priest. If he's got some sort of skin disease, can't serve as a priest. If he's got various other ailments, which I won't go into right now, just kind of gross. But the point is, it goes out of its way for God to tell us all of the reasons which disqualify a priest from doing his job. In fact, we were just reading in the Sages class this past week, we talked about how there's this fellow named Hanina Sagan Kohanim. And it's the person who was the replacement for the Kohen when, not if, but when that Kohen was disqualified because something was wrong with him. That's just kind of how the Torah rolls. And yet, so it goes out of its way to talk about how a person needs to kind of bring a perfection in order to minister to all the things of our tradition. And yet, here is this Rabbi Alexandri, this famous order who goes on to say that God is cherishing and seeking out the broken vessels. And, it's very human what the Torah was doing. It's very human when you think about it. We also struggle with imperfection. I mean, anyone here who has had any cosmetic surgery done, Botox, knows exactly what the Torah portion is talking about when it says we don't like imperfections. Anyone who's ever had work done or not, but looked in the mirror and looked at this thing up here and said, oh my God, what's that big bump doing in the middle? And it's too much, it's too big. It's occupying too much space on the front of my face. Right? Or the person who's wearing long pants and long shirt because their psoriasis is showing. Who is, more and more often keeping the buttons of their shirt a little unbuttoned because they can't fit into their shirts quite as well. We run away from imperfection as much as the authors of the Torah did. We hate it. We struggle with it. We might be sensitive to other people's imperfections, but when it comes to our own imperfections, we are our worst enemy. And yet, that's why Rabbi Alexandri screamed what he did. He was saying, we may not like broken vessels, but God seeks them out. And you know what he said? He said, oh, really? You don't believe me? He said, take a look. Think about Jacob. Jacob was Jacob until he wrestled with this angel. And when he wrestled with an angel, do you know what happened? He had his leg pulled out of his socket and he walked for the rest of his life with a limp. Something that would have disqualified him from being a priest in our people. But he got his name changed to Israel at that moment and became the father of our people. Another example, says Rabbi Alexandri, take a look at Moses. Moses had a speech impediment, and he was the spokesperson for the Hebrews, for the Israelites. And he has a speech impediment. And Alexandri says God didn't just like it, he sought it out. The things that and Moses was so embarrassed and self-conscious of his speech impediment, but God wasn't. God cherished it. We don't like it in ourselves, the imperfections, but God does. God seeks out our imperfections. That's what makes us human. It's almost as if to say that we think we measure ourselves based upon our physical perfection, but God says there's much more to you. That's just a little thing. There's so much more to you than the physical. There's the inside. Rabbi Alexandri was right. We see as unfit. God may have communicated that, and Alexandri said that what God had said for the priests was not for the rest of us. We are all broken. We all have elements of us that are broken. There's not a person in here that doesn't regularly meditate and think about all of the things that are wrong with us. That's like my daily routine. What's wrong with me today? And what do I need to work on? Or what's hopeless? It will always be wrong with me. That's what it means to be human. Our bodies aren't perfect, our hearts aren't perfect, our minds aren't perfect, our emotions aren't perfect. But that very brokenness, that stuff which causes us so much grief, these are the qualities that God cherishes. I think that if I were living in the beginning of the 3rd century in Tiberias, I think I may have kind of been one of those people who followed with Rabbi Alexandria. He seemed to know what he was talking about. He may have had a lot of shtick and gimmick, but at its core, he had a really, really good understanding of what people needed to hear. And that we may not be perfect, but God cherishes us anyway. So I'd like to invite you to please at this time reopen your prayer book to page 586. 586 is where you find Aleinu, and I'd like to invite you to please rise. 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה
Please be seated. So at this moment of sacred memory, we bring to mind loved ones from our congregation who have been called to their eternal rest. We have loved ones who have passed away over the years on this Shabbat. It's called their yard site, and we remember them lovingly and with not just affection, but almost adoration too. And so I'd like to read for you names of people from our congregation who have passed away. We remember first Erzabet Domani Hazi, Sidney Solomon Kellerman, Lawrence Scott Linder, Lawrence Peck, Fred Ilo, Morris Stern, Richard Becker, Edward Henry Berkowitz, Charles Glissenstein, Robert Kushner, Mary Saban, Lillian Kobin-Zerwitz, Ken Klotz, Nelson Ray Zagowski, Robert Brown, Phyllis Cowan, Cecile Grodner, Jacob Mednick, Sarah Ostrowski, Ruth Singer, Jean Sherman Cowan, Aaron Wagner, Bernard Yanowitz, Jill Blau, Larry Stander, and Faye Wagner. And so, in gratitude for their lives and linking their names with the rest of our loved ones who have been called to their eternal rest, We remember them now with the words of our mourner's prayer, which is called the Kaddish, 598. If it's your custom, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechal beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam ulamei almaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiram b'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to every bereaved heart. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. All right, so we've gone over a little bit, but it's been worth it because Nashira is sensational. But let me tell you a handful of announcements, and then we'll move on a little faster. First of all, tomorrow morning, Grady's bar mitzvah, 10 o'clock. You can come here in person, or you can watch online via our stream. It goes for everything that happens here in the sanctuary, virtually everything that happens in the sanctuary, the stream. And so a nice way for you, even if you can't make it, to still be a part of what's happening with us. Sunday, our annual meeting of the congregation and member appreciation brunch. So you have to RSVP by today. I guess you have till midnight. The meeting will not be live streamed or recorded, just telling you. My classes Monday morning at 9:30 and Tuesday evening at 7, virtual or in person, and you don't need to have been at previous ones to come to future ones. So please, the Monday morning is Torah, the Tuesday evening is the study of our sages. All this can be found in our weekly email. May Mitzvah, make lunches for the less fortunate, Friday, May 19th at 1:30. And finally, Men's Club has got a movie on Saturday the 20th, Crossing Delancey. That's an oldie and a goodie. All right, so we are going to, and of course, I almost forgot. First of all, thank you so much to Jody Meisenberg for serving as an usher. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Mark and Kathy Greenspan for sponsoring the Oneg Shabbat, along with Jenny Hurd and the Orr family as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Of course, thank you to Nashira, Jonathan, and Tom. It's beautiful as always. And just welcome to everyone who's here. We are going to conclude with Motzi, and we're going to invite Grady and his parents and siblings to come up here for that. And after Motzi, a song which is not in the book, so you're just going to you can listen, but it's about angels, called The Angel's Blessing, and it's about Shekhinah and the resting place of God. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece written by Debbie Friedman. So that's how we'll conclude with the singing of The Angel's Blessing. But you know what? I think I put it in the booklet. I know I did. It's in the booklet. So have no fear. You can follow along and sing. But first, Motzi. Then we conclude with The Angel's Blessing. All right. That's wrong way. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Cool. All right. All right, the angel's blessing is how we conclude.
May our right hand bring us closer to our godliness. May our left hand give us strength to face each day. And before us may our visions light our paths ahead. And behind us may well-being heal our way. All around us is shedding love. 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 May bring us closer to our highest. May only slowly us strength to face and before we live our lives, Lord, who has the land, who behind us will be before.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to seeing you out in the lobby for the Oneg Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. La 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Next, I got nothing next.
You better stand up.
Cheery, berry, berry, bim, bim, ba, bim, 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 ba. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.